Welcome, Victor.
Hi, Leah. Thanks for having me.
Can you give the audience a little introduction of who you are?
My name is Victor Sagalovsky, CEO and co-founder of Lightwater Scientific, and I'm a polymath. I'm a polymath. I'm an ontologist. I'm interested in a lot of different things, but where it's germane to what we're going to talk about, the relevance here is that I've studied human health and nutrition for about 30 years, and I'm really interested in unraveling the aging process and how can we slow it down, stop it, reverse it. But first we have to understand a little bit better about ourselves. So that's a little bit about me. If you want to know more, you just got to ask the right question.
Oh, well, then let's see. How did you get interested in health?
That is a good question. I think when I realized that you are what you eat really got me very interested in health originally. Because I was different than the other kids, let's just say. I mean, I didn't develop as fast as my friends. I grew up kind of weak, a little weak, and had some health problems. Nothing too serious, but I saw that everybody's built a little differently, and I wanted to understand that. And ultimately, I came to the conclusion that it was my diet that was hurting me. So I pursued expertise in nutrition and how to feed yourself, for how to create a lifestyle and diet for yourself that actually works. And that was my first foray into it. So in 1995, I opened one of the first organic living foods restaurants in the United States when I was 23 years old, and that began kind of my journey in nutrition and life, really. I'm a critical thinker, so I like to ask questions, and if I can't get the answer that I think is correct, or that I can't get an answer that satisfies me, or at least answers the question, then I go deeper. I'm as an ontologist, I study thought itself. So that's my interest was in just trying to get to the same parity as everybody else early on in life, right? So I just wanted to be normal like everybody else, because like I said, I was a little smaller, I was a little weaker, and then so I wanted to know, how do I reach my maximum potential? And I found out that there's really nobody that could help you with this except yourself. So you have to have you have to have really good reasoning skills. You have to be you got to be a critical ther for these things, because a lot of times you can't just blindly follow. You have to be an original thinker too. Where original thought is where you find prosperity. Nothing exists without original thought or an original idea. It's the most valuable thing in the universe, actually, is the original idea, because everything is recycled and regurgitated. And so anytime somebody has an original thought or an idea, it can move the world. It can move mountains. And as you can see, this is, you have somebody had an original idea, and next thing you know, they have a biggest company in the world, because humans are not too different. We're all looking for answers, and the answers that we're seeking have to do with the path of least resistance. We want things to be simple. We want things to be easy. We want things to be happy, joyful, and light. So we don't like to suffer, because that's like the Buddhist said, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So we have to we got to grow up, and really understand things that have eluded us for a long time. So figure, as long as I'm here, why not try and contribute a little bit to this this puzzle that we have. When I was a kid, I read all the stories of the immortals, and that really fascinated me. People that live for hundreds, if not thousands of years. I thought, okay, this might be science fiction, this might be fantasy, but what if it is real? What if there's something behind this? You know, so I was enamored with these stories, and so I thought, okay, well, if there's anything worth pursuing in life, it's really the extension of life. So,
and a good quality life too. That'd be great, right?
And of course. And once you have that good quality of life, you want to keep it. Right? I noticed that big buzzword right now is biohacking. Everybody is trying to test the limits of their mental and physical abilities. So just to understand who we are, right? What we can do. And this type of extreme, maybe I wouldn't say extreme, but it was extreme compared to. As soon as I got a handle on health, I really just ran with it. I stuff to push my limits and see what those limits really are. And back then, the word biohacking. Hatha yoga. So, because it's been with us for thousands of years, it's nothing new. And anyway, yeah. So I became incredibly fascinated with the human potential and what really we're capable of achieving, and really. The sad truth is that we have all the tools, we just don't have the manual, as I like to say. So we're here to write the manual. And so as I get older, though now I'm in my 50s, I find that the word here is not biohacking that's important, it's geroprotection, meaning protection.
Can you say that again?
Geroprotection.
Do you know
do you know this word, geroprotection?
No, I've never heard it.
Gero means aging, like gerontologist.
Okay.
Right. So geroprotection is simply just preserving our health. Right. Once you're the first part of your life, first half of your life, I'd say or first quarter. Who knows how long I'll live? But the first part of your life is about testing your limits and understanding yourself and how you fit into your surroundings and who you are. And then the next part of your life is to preserve that, is to optimize it and preserve it. So depending on where you are on your journey, chronologically or even philosophically, you have this type of you have to a 50-year-old doesn't have the same abilities physically as a 25-year-old. But why? There's a question why, right?
Right.
For
it's the same body.
It's the same body. And in fact, it's not true at all, because if you see people that have really mastered themselves and really developed themselves either in a martial art or yoga or whatever it is they put the discipline into, they see that they actually get better with age, even physically. But we have this biochemistry where cells die and where DNA gets mutated, and this causes the aging process, and we don't have the same amount of mitochondria in our cells that we did when we were younger. And again, the question is why? What's the root cause? Right? Everybody studies everything else. They study every science you can imagine, and then when it comes to studying yourself or our aging process, it's a very small group out there compared to everything else they're studying. And I like to use the analogy of geoplanetary sciences or astronomy. When I lived on the Big Island, now, when I went up to Mauna Loa, which is erupting right now, first time in 38 years, but that largest volcano in the world. It's over 13,500 feet. It's going through a big eruption right now, which is amazing because I stood in that caldera. It's now a lake of lava at 13,000 feet. And what I saw there is so interesting, the contrast, because in Hawaii you have two mountains. And you have Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa. And one is the highest volcano in the world, and the other is the tallest mountain in the world if you measure from the base. If you measure from the
Yes.
from the ocean floor. So
Right.
so on one mountain, Mauna Kea, you have billions of dollars spent on astronomical observatories, just to see, to look at the stars and explore the universe in that way, astronomically. And then on the other one, Mauna Kea, you have the geophysical observatory, whose job is to measure what's happening here on this planet. It's a geophysical observatory. And the geophysical observatory, which is here to measure the planet that which we live in, has 100 times less funding than the mountain across the way. Right? They've got like a little laboratory thing going on out there, whereas you look across to the other mountain and you've got observatories, billions of dollars. So we spent all this time focusing on the external,
Yep.
and very little focusing on that internal. So I thought that had no, for me personally, that had no use. The priority structure was inverted. So I think the priority is to know thyself first, and then you could know what's out there. So anyway, that's my philosophy. But that's kind of a little bit about me to give you a little insight into what makes me tick, if you're interested.
Well, that's why you're here, because we are interested.
Good.
I'm definitely. So, yeah, I can agree. I definitely found it very rewarding to just know a little bit more about myself, how like things are actually working, and the results are great when you get them, right?
Because they have lasting power. They have lasting power, lasting strength. If you know yourself, you're not going to forget yourself. maybe with a head injury or something. But
Yeah.
I think I'm in a shadow here, so I'm gonna move a little bit here this way.
Okay.
I'm wearing the sunglasses because the sun is in my eyes, not because I'm trying to look cool. Just so everybody out there knows that. So yeah. But yeah, so this is a great journey I've been on. If I were to say anything, if I were to give any advice, is that whatever you're doing, stay on the road, because it takes time. It takes a long time. Some of us get lucky and achieve things early in life, but really don't compare yourself with anybody else. Just whatever you're working on, just keep it going and focus, and eventually you'll get there. This is what I'm involved in with deuterium depletion and our company. This is something that has taken decades to get to where it is. So, and if you look at the science, it's over 60 years of science behind this. So, good things take time, but once you have a solid foundation, you can start building vertically.
Yes. Foundations are one of the most important things, I think. I'm discovering that for myself too.
A true foundation, yeah. And a good foundation usually starts with good habits, or
Right.
habits in general. I'm not going to judge if a habit is good or bad. I'm just going to say a good foundation starts with a habit. But a solid foundation for the development of a human being, the spiritual, physical, emotional development of a human being. It's important that the foundation is authentic. There's no crack. No cracks. There's no cracks in it.
Yeah, it's gonna break if they are.
And if there are, you fill them in. You've got all the time to, like that. Like I learned when I worked in Hollywood. I learned I think I screwed up once, and someone told me if you don't have enough time to do it right the first time, you got plenty of time to do it right the second time.
Oh.
So
yep. You're going to have to make the time, right?
Exactly. It's kind of a it's like a kind of a tricky statement, but it hits home.
Yes, I agree. So, what have been some of the fundamental discoveries of like your life, like even for yourself personally, that have like just given you like goodness, or like, you know, like the juice in your life?
Less is more. That's a big one, and I, you know, if you look at our conditioning, and you look at what we're taught or what we're programmed or indoctrinated into, and then you look at things how they really are, and you see that we overthink, we overeat, we overdrink, we overbreathe. So I want to maintain that neuroplasticity that I had when I was younger, and I still have most of that. So I think it's important to be open. You know, I like this quote from the Bible. It's the meek shall inherit the earth, right? And then I looked up the definition of meek, because definition is so important of anything.
Oh yeah.
You want the if you want the meaning of something, you really have to understand what the definition of it is. And do you know the definition of meek?
Oh God, like.
I'll tell you.
I don't know how to say it in English. I don't.
It's very simple. It's very simple. It's not what you think. It's very simple. The definition is teachable.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know that.
So I think what's important is that you question your own belief system now and then. You know, you drop your knowledge from time to time, and be like a newborn babe. Because otherwise, we get stuck in our patterns, and these crystallize and make us grow old. You know, as age happens when you stop paying attention, chronological age. So I think it's very important that we ride this fine line. There's a very fine line where we have to exist in order to be happy in our longevity. You know, we take for granted the things we have in the beginning. As they say, youth is wasted on the young, and wisdom is wasted on the old. So that fine line becomes that middle path where you still have the youth, but you still have the wisdom of age as well. And to me, that's the most valuable thing that I discovered, is that keep that youthful spirit, but also learn and grow from all of your experiences and mistakes, triumphs, achievements, whatnot. And I'll give you one more.
Okay.
So as I joke with my friends, I say, you know, Moses came down from the mountain and gave humans 10 commandments, right? And I joke that I too have come down off the mountain, and I've got the updated. I've got the updated ones, and because of the time that we live in, 10 is too many. Nobody's got the time. Attention span is 5 seconds. So all 10 commandments have been shortened to just one.
What is it?
Don't be an asshole.
Oh, well, it's good long-term advice.
That covers all other 10 commandments. If you just practice that one,
yeah,
then it covers everything else. And that's how I think the sun's shifted a little bit. Nope, I'm still there. Wow. Normally I use Zoom and I don't have this issue, but Riverside, I think I got this. I don't know what's causing this. Yeah. Anyway, but you can still see me, I think. Yes,
I can see.
I know, I'm in the shadow here.
The sound is good. That's the most important part.
Right. You know, we're happy with watching really terrible video as long as the sound is good. But
yes.
You can't. But if the picture quality is incredible, but the sound is terrible, we'll stop it right away.
So bad.
That's just how
it hurts. It hurts the brain.
It hurts the brain, and so I think it's important that we write this manual while we're here, or at least try to contribute to it, to how to improve the human condition. And obviously this started for me as something that was of a selfish interest. You know, nobody wants to age and grow old and die. But for me, the selfish interest was, you know, hey, once I, you know, like I said, I was sick, and then I got healthy, and then I maintained that health, and now it's like, okay, how do I continue to maintain this? Because we live in an entropic world where all the friction that exists eventually causes a decay of spin, which means that we wind down and stop. So how do we keep coiled up, right? And how do we keep that fortitude that is given to us freely, we're born with, you know, because we take for granted when we're young and healthy, we take it for granted. So I'm very blessed in that my friends were all healthier than me at the time, and that I was frustrated with this, because if I wasn't frustrated with it, then I wouldn't have asked the questions of, hey, how do I get healthy too, right? What do I do?
Right. So
yeah. Let's see if I can do anything about this shadow. Probably not. Oh, I can lower myself a little bit now. This is weird. This is weird. I normally don't get this shadow problem, but yeah. Now I know to not schedule my podcast at 9 when the sun's directly in my face. But yeah, so this is a little bit about kind of a little bit of the underlying philosophy that makes me wake up in the morning, you know, and pursue my day. So when I was younger, I was really interested in cutting through the BS and just getting to something that works, just finding the source of things. And that ultimately led me to this deuterium depletion and deuterium depleted water. And
let's talk about that.
Yeah. So something I discovered, I read an article in 2004, In Search of the Fountain of Youth, and that triggered something in me because, like I said, when I was a kid, I was reading all these stories of immortals and the fountains of youth and things like these great fantasies of.
Yeah, it draws you in, right? It's just like, too cool.
It does. It draws you in because anything we can imagine, we could probably manifest. Maybe not now, but eventually. You know, people imagined the light bulb for a long time, and then at some point somebody invented it. So I think we live in this designer universe, this designer reality where we can manifest things if it's aligned with the evolutionary desires of our collective species. So yeah, I think the whole point of it is that there's magic out there that is beyond our comprehension or understanding, and it works in very mysterious ways, and in me, it because of the way I was educated and the way I was brought up, critical as a critical thinker, and really following logic. When I read about this deuterium issue, it really made me stop and question everything. Like, I didn't gloss it over. A lot of other people I noticed, they just read it and said, okay, deuterium is incompatible with biology. Okay, next. But I stopped there. I go, how can we go any further once we know this, right? Sometimes we have this. We have our president. We had a president of the United States during World War II, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Everybody, I guess, studies him in school. I don't know about Italy. You guys have your own history, but we had FDR, and FDR said every person, he said man, but every human eventually stumbles upon the truth, but then they pick themselves up and keep on going. But not me. Once I stumble upon truth, I can't keep going. You know, you can't just pick yourself up and just ignore it. So I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't ignore that. And I'm not a biochemist by training. I don't have a PhD in this stuff. And I looked at them and they said, oh, this is, it's just another fact of life. And I said, yes, but this is something so profound that we really have to stop and take a look at it. We really have to question everything. I mean, I question why we have 7 days in the week. Why don't we have 10? Where did it come from? Because humans, we have the most powerful imaginations of any living creature that we know.
Yes.
And this imagination, it confuses fact and fiction, fantasy and reality. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's good and bad. It's good because it gives us the ability to manifest our imagination, to make the impossible possible. But it's also bad because it gets us into trouble of denial. And you can't deny that. You can't deny that you are a little older every day, right? And you can't deny it when you wake up feeling great or you wake up feeling crappy. It's not. You can lie to yourself, but if you do, it doesn't solve the problem. So we've got this problem. We've got this mechanical problem in our biology. And I thought, heck, this is something that I'm willing to pursue and make part of my life's work because it's so foundational. Because it's so much more upstream than so many other things that we think help us achieve optimal health. We have this mechanical problem that goes all the way down to every strand of DNA and every piece of everything in the universe is run on hydrogen, right?
Yeah.
Right. Rocket ships, stars, humans, animals, everybody runs on hydrogen. And the reason everything runs on hydrogen is because hydrogen is so simple. It's the smallest element in the universe. It's just a proton and an electron. That's it. Everything else is multiple protons, a whole bunch of electrons and neutrons. And so in 1933, which is not even 100 years ago, they discovered that not all hydrogen is the same. And they discovered that elements have isotopes. Mm-hmm. And these isotopes differ from one another by the amount of neutrons that they have. Okay, so deuterium is a version of hydrogen with an added neutron. So instead of a proton and an electron cloud around it, you've got a proton, electron, and a neutron, and that doubles the mass of this hydrogen. So there's not very much of this, but it's constant. Mm-hmm. And it also binds with oxygen to create water. Oxygen it's non-discriminatory, or I like to call oxygen stupid because it cannot distinguish between the hydrogen 1 and hydrogen 2, mm-hmm. hydrogen 2 being protium. And mm-hmm. so that's why when you drink a liter of water, in that liter of water you think water is H2O, right? That's what we've been taught.
That's what we learn, yeah. And
1 liter of water is 20,000 drops. In those 20,000 drops are 6 drops of water that's not H2O. It's water that's HDO or HOD. And an even smaller amount of that is D2O. And so when they synthesized this heavy water in a laboratory in the late 30s, because they wanted to see, hey, is this still water? Because deuterium is still hydrogen, even though it's twice the size. Is the water that it makes, is the water still water? Is D2O the same as H2O? Mm-hmm. And they found it was not. They found that if you give somebody heavy water, somewhere between the 3rd and 5th day you die.
Oh my God.
So now, fortunately, it's not something that occurs in nature. You have to make it in a lab. So in a lab, you can make pure D2O. In nature, 1 out of every 41 million molecules is D2O. So you have to concentrate it. That's why it takes so long to make heavy water. And heavy water is not the problem. The problem is the semi-heavy water, which is the HDO or HOD, because it occurs because you get one molecule every 6,420 molecules of water is not H2O. It's this HDO. So when they discovered this, said, wow, this is incompatible with life. And then decades went by and they discovered why it's incompatible with life. And it's a metabolic, it's a metabolic incompatibility. Our body runs on hydrogen, not on its cousin deuterium. But deuterium still sneaks its way in, pretending to be a hydrogen, or pretending to be protium, which is the hydrogen 1 is called protium, hydrogen 2 is called deuterium. So, so when a hydrogen 2 takes a position in your body, whether it's on a DNA strand or an enzyme or in your mitochondria, when that takes a position that's reserved specifically for an H1, you've got problems. An analogy would be like, you show up to a concert, you paid for really good seats, and somebody's sitting in your chair. You got to call security. I mean, this is a whole bunch of problem. A whole bunch of drama is going to ensue. Whole bunch of drama, and so this is what's happening in the body. And energy is the name of the game. As we age, we have less energy in our cells, not because, one reason, we have less mitochondria in our cells. We have less ability to produce energy. We have less of these energy factories in our bodies. So what causes these energy factories to shut down, go on strike, and die? And a big part of that is deuterium, because it's incompatible, but it still gets mistaken for hydrogen. So everywhere it takes a position for a hydrogen, you have problems. And this is also explained through something known as the kinetic isotope effect.
What's that?
That just tells you how slowly or quickly something disassociates. So let's say you have a carbon-hydrogen bond, and a carbon-hydrogen bond versus a carbon-deuterium bond. Both are considered hydrogen. In nature, both are considered a hydrogen bond because they're two different types of hydrogen. But that bond of deuterium and carbon is going to dissociate 9 times slower. So everything in the body is in a constant movement, constant reaction. In the time I said this sentence, my body produced 30 million cells, in the last 10 seconds. So everything is in a constant state of repair and replication. So if there's a little bit of that replication that's slower than another part, then you have errors in that replication and transcription. So if you were going to run a marathon and you trained for it, you got brand new shoes, and next thing you know, you get out of the gate and you step in some gum. And it's sticking on the, and you've got your condition physically to run the marathon. You're prepared mentally and physically. You got brand new shoes. But all of a sudden you stepped in this gum that's going to slow you down, and now you have this disadvantage. And that's what we have from the moment we're born to the day we die, a disadvantage, because of this little hidden contaminant. The oldest and most ubiquitous natural contaminant in the universe is deuterium. And it was there from the very beginning. And over time, life figured out how to manage this. But as more deuterium, as our planet, as the water on the planet increased in the amount of deuterium, our lifespans decreased. Not only our lifespans, but there's evidence that even our physical stature, our size, also decreased. And you see this in the geologic record with plants and animals as well. When you had less deuterium on the planet, you had giant animals, you had giant plants, and that had something to do with the oxygen as well. But deuterium and oxygen are irrevocably linked, because when you have less deuterium, you have a much better ability to process oxygen, to use oxygen, to utilize it. So your ability to use oxygen is increased when you have less deuterium. So you're optimistic. Yeah, and this is, I mean, my colleagues have done these studies. They paid a lot of money for them, and it was just phenomenal. And it explains so many things. So this deuterium problem is going to solve a lot of problems that we didn't have any solutions for. It really fills in the missing gaps and the missing puzzle pieces of some of these questions and problems in biochemistry that we haven't had any good answers for until now. So it's exciting. It's going to take a long time, unfortunately, for the scientific community to really get on this bandwagon. But eventually, like everything, it will. Yeah, I mean, it's going to take time, but it's really exciting because the physical changes that happen when your body is deuterium depleted are phenomenal. You know, you really, you know, I wouldn't say, I don't know about age reversal or any of that, but I do know that my healing ability has vastly improved and gotten back to where I was in my 20s. You know, and like I said, I'm 50.
That's pretty good.
And my healing ability, my ability to heal, because I've injured myself in the past couple of years, and I thought, okay, well, I'm older now, so these things take a lot longer to heal. And sure enough, the opposite was true. I just and so there is this relationship. When you have less deuterium in your body, you have more proton motive force as that's the technical explanation of what's happening, and so you've got you know, you're just you're happier because you're lighter, and in fact we have the average human being has about 1 to 4 grams of this deuterium, this heavy hydrogen, hydrogen 2 in our bodies. It doesn't seem like very much, but when you look at it, it's really quite a lot. And this is a problem. You know, we've got 5 to 8 times more deuterium in our body than the basic constituents of life, like glucose and all the minerals, magnesium, potassium, calcium, et cetera, et cetera. And because deuterium is hydrogen, and you know, we are actually, we're taught in school that we're 75% water, but that's not true. That's not true. If you look at the molecular weight, we're 98.9% water. So everything in our body, it's a lot more. Everything in our body is attached to a water molecule, just about. So when that water molecule has got that deuterium instead of the hydrogen, which is twice the mass, it's like if you woke up tomorrow and you weighed double the amount of weight that you weigh now, you'd be like, I don't like this. Yeah.
Horrible.
Horrible. Two, you have to relearn everything. You have to re-educate yourself on how to do everything. You have to completely change your life to accommodate the fact that you just doubled in size, right? It's like if you wake up in the morning and you're not even human anymore. So when we lower this deuterium in our bodies, everything starts working better. And,
so what are some examples of what can happen when everything works better?
Metabolically, when you have a faster metabolism, you can lose weight. If you have any excess weight, and you accompany this deuterium depletion protocol with a deuterium depletion lifestyle, change your lifestyle a little bit, and by lifestyle I mean your eating habits and maybe your exercising habits. You will drop all the excess weight that you have. It'll just go because your metabolism is increased. Yeah. So that's one thing I've noticed. Everybody, it's a little different because it's a metabolic energy that you get exposed to. So the body being a self-healing organism, it can now devote some of that cellular energy toward some things that have been chronic conditions. You know, I know I'm also really into hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and I noticed that people that practice this, where they go into hyperbaric oxygen, which basically dissolves 5 to 7 times more oxygen into the blood plasma than you have in the hemoglobin, I've noticed that people start healing injuries that have been dormant for decades.
Wow.
Yeah, so the body says, listen, I don't have the energy to deal with this injury or this problem, so I'll just put it off to the side until some energy will come. It never comes. But if it,
that's the problem.
right. It's a paradox, right? It's a cruel, cruel world. So we don't like this cruelty. We have to use this mind to.
Yeah. So now we have. It seems like a solution to bring the energy back.
Many solutions. Yeah, you've got deuterium depletion. You've got hyperbaric oxygen. You've got fasting. You've got proper diet. You've got all kinds of things now, and you just have to apply them and use them. And but my point is that the body will conserve its energy for daily tasks, for daily functions, daily life. Mm-hmm. It will prioritize the energy. It will prioritize the energy away from healing chronic conditions if it doesn't have the energy.
Right.
So when you do get the energy back, incredible things start happening. Really, truly amazing things. And it's very easy because you just have to lower your deuterium level by about 20%. 15 to 20%. And I think our physiology, if you look at there's a new branch of biochemistry, and it's known as deuteronomics. And deuteronomics,
what does it mean?
Deuteronomics is the study of how deuterium is managed by the body.
Ah, okay.
And so all these revelations start coming out. Like I said, we finding missing puzzle pieces in things, and so. This is a hidden puzzle piece, and our body tries to limit the amount of deuterium that comes into our energy producing pathways, but we're quickly overrun. And a little clue is that when you look at the water that's in our cells or our metabolic water that's inside the mitochondria in those nano-confined spaces, that's not water that we drank. That's water that we made. Okay.
Yeah, so, that part blew my mind when I first heard it, because I always thought, okay, we drink the water to then have that water in our cells, because that's just the level that's what I was taught.
I know, that's what we all think, right?
Yeah.
But the body's very specific. It will take the building blocks that you give it, and it will miraculously, magically transform them into what it needs for survival. So the body makes its own water because it doesn't trust the water that comes in. It has to make pure water from hydrogen and oxygen. And this water that the body makes itself is 50 to 70% deuterium depleted. So there is a discrimination that happens in our bodies and in nature, a discrimination for hydrogen or protium over deuterium. And of course, it makes sense. Of course, there wouldn't be. One slows you down. Yes. One is efficient. One is meant to power life, and the other is the wrong type of fuel. So, but unfortunately, we have too much of this deuterium on our planet, and we have too much of it in our bodies, and we have more so than ever because of this Western diet that everybody is eating. You know. Carbohydrate rich diet, and nature's strategy. Yeah, you know this.
Horrible.
Yeah, you live in Italy, a land of pasta. So, but when you look at the biochemistry, because biochemistry is a fairly new field, right? Less than 100 years old. So when you look at the, I think, oh good, yeah, sun's out. So when you look at biochemistry, it's a relatively new field. You find that when you power yourself off of fat, right? It goes 3 times farther, or actually a little more, 3.5 times farther than sugar. You go, well, then why is everybody eating sugar or starch in that case?
Yeah, these are addicted, right?
These are old habits, and but if you look at it from how to optimize your human biology, then you start arriving at conclusions that are very foreign to the lifestyles of the modern human. So
Yes.
it's interesting because we're so we're like at a very we're like infants in our evolution right now.
Oh yeah.
Completely we haven't even gotten to kindergarten yet when it comes to understanding all the things that are to be understood about longevity and about the human organism or life in general, and yet we're light years ahead of where we were not so long ago. Even a few decades ago, we're already light years ahead. So we're getting all of these discoveries that are just coming out. People are making them, and they're publishing papers, and they're putting it out there. But is anybody reading this stuff?
No, that's the problem.
Is anybody applying this stuff? So yes, I thought I would pursue the one thing that I thought was that had the most, that would have the most impact, because there's nothing that will give you the same net energy benefit as depleting your body of deuterium. There's no way you will conserve the amount of energy that you will conserve when your body is deuterium depleted. And the reason this was discovered in the first place is because they were trying to understand why a couple populations in Siberia had so many people over 100 years of age.
The Yakutians, right?
The Yakutians and the Altaians, yeah. And also some populations in the Caucasus Mountains, the Hunzas. They were trying to figure out, look, these people, when you look at the Yakutians and the Altaians, they pretty much live like Eskimos. Okay, they don't have any modern medical. They don't eat a Mediterranean diet. They have a very harsh lifestyle, and yet these people were incredibly energetic. They had children, very much later in life than modern people, and they had very advanced health and longevity. Like I think it was like 351 centenarians per 1 million, and everybody else was like 5 to 50. Everywhere else in Europe. And they're like, well, what are these people doing different? If they're doing anything different, whatever they're doing different, it actually should make them age faster, because they're living in a harsh environment. They don't have access to, all the good biodiversity of food that exists on the planet, like Eskimos, right? And yet they're living long, and they're super healthy, and a couple ambitious young scientists figured it out. They said it's the deuterium. They measured it in 1958, I think, late 50s, and they discovered that these people were drinking the glacial water they were drinking had 16% less deuterium. And so this also applies to the food that they eat, because it grows there, and the animals they eat, and so forth and so on. And this had a cumulative effect, not only on the current generation, but also every generation was more vital than the last. And then they proved this with by studying plants and other mammals, mice, dogs, and eventually humans. And so yes, this is true. When you have water, or when you have less deuterium in your body, or you drink water that has less deuterium, which allows your body to have less deuterium, then you enjoy greater health. And if you do the opposite, you suffer. And if you go to the full extreme of synthesizing this heavy water in a lab, looks like water, tastes like water, but it'll kill you. You'll die. Because it doesn't fit mechanically in our biology. It's just too big. And that's the problem. So right now we're in this state of human evolution where this gift of knowledge has been given to us. And so now we have this gift that the universe is saying, hey, look, now you know something you didn't know yesterday. Now you know that if you lower the deuterium in your body, you might enjoy a longer health span. You might enjoy less disease. You might enjoy less wear and tear, which ultimately lead to a better quality of life and a longer life. So what do we do with the information when we get it, right? And so I said, okay, I'm going to do something about this. One, first, because of a selfish need. I'm all over this, right? I'm my best customer. But
did you do any like experiments on yourself where you like deplete a little bit more than maybe like the recommendation or something like that? My primary
experiences with water, I was always very interested in water. When I was I grew up regular, we're Russian immigrants to the United States. So, we grew up pretty normal, just following the traditions that we've followed for centuries. And then in high school, my friend gave me some bottled water, and I drank it, and I go, and it really light bulb went off in my head. I said, wait a second, this water tastes different. What? And then I realized, wait a second, all water is not the same. Up until I was 16 years old, I thought water is water, whether it comes out of the tap or where it comes. It's water, man. I mean, okay, yeah, there's salt water and there's drinking water. Okay, we know this. But then somebody gave me some glacial water from a bottle, and I said, wow, this is very different. This is so that started me on a path of inquiry where I literally traveled around the world.
Oh, wow.
And hiked to different springs to collect water. I lived in Hawaii for a long time, and I mapped all the springs, all the freshwater springs. Even in Los Angeles, I mapped, when I lived in LA, I mapped, I think, 19 freshwater sources.
Oh, they are, wow.
So I was very fanatical about the taste of water, about the differences in water, because I read this this report by, do you know who Victor Schauberger is? Victor Schauberger was an Austrian naturalist, and he is he's considered the father of modern water science. Okay?
Oh.
And he had this fantastic experiment that he did. And in this experiment, the experiment was to show the difference between tap water or municipal water from the faucet and spring water. So 1 liter of water is a kilo, okay? It's like 1 kilogram.
Yeah.
So he stands on a scale to weigh himself. And he drinks a liter of tap water, and the scale goes up by 1 kilogram. Makes sense. You drink a kilo of water, you should go up by a kilo.
Yeah.
Stands on the scale and drinks a liter of spring water, of good quality spring water that he identified as a very good quality spring, but nothing that's unusual, but just really good quality spring water. And he did this while he's on the scale, and the needle didn't move. What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
What happened? So this really got me interested in springs, this whole, again, back to the fountain of youth, right? So I was really like an Indiana Jones,
Yeah. That's why.
Blazing a trail through the jungle to find the source of the spring and collect it in a jug and bring it home. So this was really interesting to me. And so my experiment or like you asked me, what did I do to get a deeper understanding? And so I wanted to understand what our relationship with water is all about. So in the beginning, it started externally, right? To go and seek the water, to go and find the water. And I would also, at the same time, my priorities in Hawaii was to swim in the ocean every day and stand under a waterfall. And I did this for years. I did this for over 10 years. So every day, ocean, creek, or waterfall, right? Water. And
sounds like paradise.
It doesn't sound like it is. It is. And it's there for anybody. It's there for anybody that chooses it, that desires it, and is willing to do it, not just think about it. So I wanted to understand my internal relationship with water because I understood my external relationship and how what a benefit and what a comfort it brought me. And so for my internal relationship with water, I decided to do that through dry fasting, where you stop eating or drinking anything. You basically become a houseplant. but an unhappy houseplant because you're not getting watered.
I bet, very unhappy, right?
And that really brought a lot of insight. That really did. That brought a lot of insight into me. I did between 4 and 6 days. I did 144 hours without water, and you really understand your relationship with water when you do that. And so what I understood is that's when I understood that our body makes water, and it will make water from fat. It will make water from whatever it can.
Yeah, and, because you hear you're like that you're gonna die after 3 days of not drinking, right?
14 days. 14 days. Clinically, if you look at the clinical science, I know one person that went 10 days. Now I could have gone longer. At that point, I found the homeostasis of how to do this. But my mother said, if I'm going to kill you if you don't drink some water. So I stopped. But 6 days was long enough for me to have a good understanding of what it's like to go without water and what metabolically kind of happens when you get into this state. And your body does. I mean, it's an internal crisis for sure, right? So, but in that crisis, there's nothing like a crisis to optimize everything, right? It's hormesis. That which does not kill us makes us stronger.
Yeah, people report a lot of benefits from it, or do it to cure certain conditions.
It works. It absolutely works. It's what animals do in nature. If you have a dog or a cat, when they get ill, they'll stop eating.
Yes.
They'll just wait until it passes. They'll let their body take over because digestion takes an enormous amount of time, an enormous amount of effort, and once in a while you have to just stop it. You have to recover. You have to recover from this constant damage you're doing to yourself, because just about everything we do will have some kind of side effect, or will have some kind of, when we eat, do you know why we breathe? This is crazy, because
what do you mean?
Well, did you know that we don't breathe for oxygen? If we breathed for oxygen, we would need to take 1 breath per minute. That's it. We breathe to exhale carbon dioxide. So we constantly have to get rid of this carbon. We're eating, we have to get rid of this carbon. It's a relationship, oxygen-carbon relationship. So we're actually breathing to exhale carbon as carbon dioxide. So this carbon becomes a gas, and then we can expel it. So we're so conditioned to think we know everything, but we know very little. So when you start fasting, you start to understand for yourself experientially what's going on. You don't need a textbook. You don't need a lecturer. You just listen to what's going on. And so that was my initiation into understanding our relationship with water, what water is, how it works, and what it isn't. And so then when we started this company, Light Water Scientific, we really wanted to drink deuterium depleted water, right?
Of course.
But we didn't have any. And so we started the company purely believing in the science. It was a big risk. And then started the company, imported the water, and then started drinking it. And sure enough, after 3 to 6 months, you start seeing some incredible changes, and you go, wow, this is great, because the science did not let me down. How amazing when the science doesn't let you down. That was so comforting to me, because I just went on the faith that the science was right, based on what I believed and what my analysis was. I read the science, it made sense to me, and then I applied it, and it didn't let me down. So I was very fortunate in that. And so yeah, I got down to 80 parts per million in my body on deuterium. So we do a
wow.
You can measure your deuterium with a saliva test, and or you can measure your breath vapor or any. It's a good. The saliva is a good indicator of what's happening in the extracellular fluid, and the breath vapor is a good indicator of intracellular fluid. So I got down to 80, and for me it was too much energy. Honestly, it was too much. If I was a competitive athlete, or if I had some terrible illness where I needed more energy, more metabolic energy, then it would be fine. But so right now my deuterium level is about 100 parts per million, and that works great because my sleep is fantastic. I never get tired. I wake up happy and refreshed. I go to sleep very quickly, and I have energy for exercise. You know, and my resting heart rate is about 50.
Pretty low.
I know. I'm trying to get it into the 40s, but it hasn't happened. I mean, I did it one day. It happened, but so yeah, you want to keep your heart rate low, and you want to keep your HRV or heart rate variability high. So I noticed these things shifted, you know, and when you do something positive, it only reinforces the next positive action. Same thing with negative. If you do something negative, it only reinforces the next negative action.
Yep.
So we're just so I'm compounding all these positive actions on top of one another, and so when you have a little bit more energy, whether it's physical or mental, you can do more. You can
right.
You can build on that, right? This is what we're talking about. This is why the foundation is so important, because you need something to build on, and not just the tent in the woods that you're going to have to get on, that you're going to have to break down and move, which is okay too. But at some point, you need a foundation if you really hope to get anywhere with anything. So
that's pretty cool. I might try to deplete that low to one time at least. I'm so curious.
Yeah, look, you're as we age, we have more deuterium. So when you're young, you've got less, and it depends on your diet too. You know, if you eat people that eat 3 to 4 meals a day, they're crazy. I mean, it's just insanity, because you're putting more stress on your body, and you're putting the stress on needlessly, because you know if you fast or intermittent fast, you realize how little you need, and really a lot of the energy is taken up by the brain. So if you can slow down the brain, then you need a lot less calories per day. I'm not into permanent calorie restriction, but I'm into periodic moments of calorie restrictions, just like the seasons. You know, everything is cyclical. So I'm into following that cycle, and if you could follow that cycle well, then you can stay ahead of anything that may come negatively in your path. And the name of the game is staying ahead of the pollution. The pollution's not going away, but you gotta just stay ahead of it. And you can stay ahead of it by having a very strong biofield. You know, there's this talk of the human aura. Whether you can see it or not, it exists. It's your vibration. It's how you glow. Yeah, and when you're young, you know, when you're young, you like naturally have this, like just this glow of youth and health. You know, if we're lucky, a lot of people when they're young, they don't have it. They're already old when they're young, and that's no fun. That's not a lot of fun. But yeah, so it's an energy game. It's purely an energy game, and food is not the only thing that gives us energy. In fact, it can take it away from us. And in fact, most chronic illnesses are because of what we put in our mouth, or what we put in our brain. So, and they affect one another, right? Your equanimity is affected by the things that you consume. So
Yes.
So yeah, the name of the game is energy, and when you have a lot of it, when you have a surplus of it, that's what you want. You want a surplus. You don't want a deficit. So when you have a surplus, you are emotionally, you feel very, very strong because you have a surplus of energy, right? You feel very giving. You feel very magnanimous because you have an overabundance. Do you know why?
Right.
Do you know why they consider the cow sacred in India or in the Vedic culture?
No, why?
It's because it produces more milk than it needs for its own young. It produces more. It produces. It has milk for you. Mm-hmm. It's abundant. It's a symbol of abundance. It actually produces more milk than it needs for its young. It's got a little bit more for the people in the village, for the community. So this is a symbol. This is a symbol of abundance. You can't be abundant if you don't have a surplus of energy.
That's why you can't eat it in India, because if you take away what's like giving you more than it needs, like you're cutting your own source, right?
Right. Why would you kill something that's feeding you?
Yeah.
Right. So, but that's the whole point is you need the abundance, the overabundance of energy in order to be abundant or generous with others. You can't,
Same with money or anything.
Same with money,
gifts.
right? You can't. Right. If you person has to be fed first.
Yeah.
So it's very simple, right? It's just very, very simple. We want the path of least resistance because I don't know if it's because we're lazy. I mean, we're lazy in the sense that we don't want any friction. We want the smoothest way possible in any situation, because that's grace, So we want this path of least resistance, and we want plenty of energy to go down this path. And if you're missing those two things, if you've got resistance wears on your energy. Resistance challenges your energy. You have to overcome or surmount the resistance by using your energy. So, but if you have energy and no resistance, just imagine what you can do. You have freedom. You truly have some freedom within the confines of this reality that we live in this temporal space. So when I realized it was all about energy, it only made sense that when I discovered that this fundamental problem of deuterium is what's causing an energy deficit as we age, which is causing, along with a few other things, this aging process.
Right.
And I said, okay, what can we do about this? What can we do about this? And then through some really good timing, and I'd like to say divine providence, I got in partnership with the scientists that were working on this, and then they spent decades on trying to figure out how to remove this HDO from H2O. It's not like you can't do it with any regular filtration system. You can't use reverse osmosis or any membrane technology. You can't use regular distillation. There's nothing that will remove it, because our understanding of water contaminants is that they're not water, right? If you got arsenic, fluoride, whatever, it's not water. So it's relatively simple to take out, because you just got to separate that from water. But in this case, you're separating water from water. So it took decades to figure out how to do this on a commercial level, and finally it happened, and then we started this company and started selling it in the U.S. And we don't really make that much water. It's not an easy process. But the takeaway I like to give people from this, because that if you give somebody some bad news, I don't like to give anybody any bad news unless I can offer a solution to. So the bad news is deuterium is slowing us down. It's causing us to age. The good news is that you can reduce it And the even better news is that you don't have to, deuterium depleted water, our brand, we make the most deuterium depleted water on the planet, light water. That is the easy way. That'll guarantee that you will lower your body deuterium. But you could also do it through lifestyle. You could also do it through diet. And you're not going to get to the same deuterium level, but you'll get to the point where you're in homeostasis, where you're in balance and you're healthy. So you can do this by fasting, intermittent fasting, more ketogenic diet, because nature loads the carbs with deuterium and it depletes the fats. So you can eat less, So all these things will help to contribute to your body's own ability to filter the deuterium out. Keep it away from the electron transport chain where the bulk of the ATP is produced, ATP energy. So yeah, that's where we are today.
That's pretty cool. Yes, and people don't need to buy the water. It's an option for those that want.
Well, you should know. Yeah, you should know. Look, deuterium, it's not going away. In fact, it's probably increasing. So you should know that it's a problem. You should know that drinking DDW is not the only solution. Another great solution is to go live in one of these areas that has less deuterium naturally, like where you are, for example. You might be in an area where you might have a deuterium level that's 5 to 10% less than.
Maybe we get the water from the mountains, but it's treated. I'm actually having like a hard time drinking our water recently since I did the whole lifestyle changes. Yeah,
you might. It might be treated, but you can put it through a reverse osmosis and clean it up again. But it's not going to change the deuterium content. Yeah. In fact, if you want to send me a sample of your water, I can test it and see what. And it's also probably publicly available information if you dig for it.
I tried, but I couldn't find the information.
You couldn't find it. It would be delta D is what you'd be looking for. Delta D.
Delta D.
Yeah.
Is that?
Well, delta means difference, right? So the delta difference of deuterium, and it would be,
okay.
And it won't be they won't tell it to you in parts per million. They'll tell it to you in VSMOW, which stands for Vienna Standard Mean Ocean Water. So it'll be a different, okay. and then you have to make the conversion. But that's most municipal water sources on the planet have been tested and measured. So if you live in one of these areas where you have less deuterium, then biologically, over time, you've got a great advantage. So, because
if you're a lucky one.
if you're a lucky one, yeah. Well, some people make their own luck.
Yeah.
Make your own luck. You know the definition of luck?
What is it?
It's where preparedness means opportunity.
Oh.
Where preparedness intersects opportunity. That's luck. So prepare yourself, and then when you have the opportunity, recognize it, jump on it. So I had an opportunity to move to Hawaii, I jumped on it. Some people say, oh, Vic, you're so lucky. It's like, well, I was prepared for it, and I got the opportunity. So to you, that looks like luck, but it's actually not entirely random.
Yeah, you got to jump on it. That's true. So
you got to jump on it. Yeah.
To come to a conclusion, where can people get more information about the deuterium? Your website, social media, maybe?
Certainly, they can go to our website, drinklightwater.com, and lightwater is spelled LITEWATER. Drinklightwater.com. They can go there, and a lot of the information is there. We have other websites like deuteriumtest.com. We have deuterium-depletion.org, which is not affiliated with the company, something I did personally to try to put all the studies that I could find over the last 60 years on deuterium and deuterium depletion available online in one easy portal. And then they can go to our social media, Drink Light Water. You can find us and our Instagram, Facebook. So yeah, that's we're not difficult to get a hold of. I'm not that difficult to reach. So that's how you can find us. Now the water is available in the United States and Canada. We do not have a distributor in Europe or Italy. We have some customers there, but they pay to get it shipped from the U.S., which gets to be a bit expensive or unattainable for most people. Mm-hmm. So, but eventually we'll have distribution in Italy as well, and so that, yeah, you can find out more there. I would recommend, if people really want to learn about everything I just said and a little bit more, that they download the Deuterium Depletion Guide on our website. It'll be a pop-up as soon as you go to the website, and it's just a free, 30-plus page guide that I wrote that puts all these things in perspective and easily explains what it is. And it's really a great feeling to have lower deuterium in the body than I did before, because I really feel like I've achieved something that's not just superficial, but that has some foundational. It's a foundational intervention. It has some staying power. So we'll see where all this goes. This is fairly new,
Yes,
so I'm very excited because I can't, I can only imagine where this is going to go years and decades from now, because the realization of this isn't going away. You can't challenge it or refute it, because it's mechanical. It's a mechanical problem. And when you look at it mechanically, you go, well, I can't, you can't argue with a mechanical problem. So we have this problem, and now we have a little bit of a solution, and so here we are. And how did you find out about us?
The deuterium, I think, well, I'm doing like a carnivore diet, so high fat, right? Ketogenic. And just, getting my health back. So energy obviously is very important.
Right.
And I think one of the, I think Sarah Kleiner had an interview with you. At the time she was called Carnivore Yogi. Yeah,
that's right.
And I was like, what is this? And it's just like, when you discover something and it just hits you, and like this, I have to find out more about this. And so here I am.
That's how it happened for me.
Yeah. It's really cool.
So do you feel like you learned anything in this conversation?
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, Leah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure to talk to young, intelligent people that are doing what they can to have a positive impact on themselves and the community around them. So thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you. It goes both ways.
Of course. Of course.